there, everyone. Welcome to our weekly East Bay Comps and Coffee. We'd love to, get a chance to chat with all of you and hopefully bringing you information that you're all wondering about. So today we've got an amazing update. I mean, this data will probably shock most people. We wanted to give you guys a market update. Everyone's been asking. We have clients every day ask us about, what's going on with the market? Why does everything appear to be so incredibly crazy as far as activity level in our East Bay? And what's going on. So we're going to do that. And then we're also going to give you guys an update on Proposition 19, which this is a question that we have so many of our older clients who have lived in their homes for years, and they've been wanting to find out, how do I take my tax base and move across the state? So we have those answers for you. So welcome everyone. So my name is Lisa Doyle and I'm a real estate agent.
Hey guys, I'm TJ Smith. I'm also a realtor here in the area.
I'm Diana Carcamo, also a realtor.
Felicia, Ryan.
Hi, I'm Felicia Lopez. I'm a realtor on the Doyle team.
Sorry, my audio is cutting out here. My name is Ryan Day. I'm also a realtor with the Doyle team.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us. We all work together as a team so that we can better care for our clients and give the highest level of service. So what we're going to start with is I'm going to give you guys a little overview of what our East Bay has been doing since, last year, a little bit of overview. 2020 was a very just a rigorous is the best way to describe real estate market. Other than those few months that we were shut down, which was from March to about June, that 6 weeks or 2 month window where houses were not being sold into 2020. The rest of the year it just took off, and we're, as a group, we're going to be talking to you guys about why that was, why was the market so hot? But I'm going to give you guys some data. So we always look at the East Bay is anywhere from Livermore all the way down the 580 to the 680, the 24 clip, which is La Marinda, all the way around Martinez, Concord, all the way down to Clayton. And of course, we serve the East County areas as well. But to give you data, this is the area that encompasses. And this is crazy. One of the things that we've tracked for years is it's all about supply and demand, right? It's the active and pended ratio that gives you guys trends on the market. So right now, in that whole entire area, Livermore all the way down to Clayton, I mean, there's just a ton of people. There are only 360 active homes on the market right now. It's crazy.
That's insane.
That includes everything, all the condos, townhouses, homes, everything. And there's 74 that are marked right now as coming soon, that are in that prep stage. So, less than 450 houses active and coming, which is crazy. And if you looked at a year ago, just this time back in the beginning of 2020, there were over 1,000 houses active and only about 900 pending, which again, there was more pending because there was more homes to choose from. But the supply and demand was completely flipped. And another statistic that I thought was super interesting is, so December of 2019 to January of 2020. So just that window of about 6 weeks last year. So right about this time last year, there were only 783 homes that closed during that 6 week window. Which is a lot of houses for this area, really, considering we're a pretty small, like the demographic. This year, there's been over 1,218 homes that have closed during that window.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like people keep saying, why are we not seeing any inventory? Part of it is that there's very little on the market, and everything that's come up is just swiped up. So we're seeing that heavy pressure. But Proposition 19 is something we're going to talk to you about, and that's going to help us out a little bit, ease that pressure. So one other statistic that I wanted to share with everyone. So during this last window of time, and this is just an average of Livermore all the way down to Clayton and everything, there's been a 7% rise in value just in the last 12 months. It's pretty significant, right? Some of the areas have seen more than that, and some of them have seen less, but the average. And then the last statistic I want to share with you guys, which I thought was super interesting, is the high end. So our market encompasses, some high end areas that a year ago, the data in one of our high end areas is Blackhawk, right? The data in Blackhawk 1 year ago, there were 49 active listings for sale in Blackhawk 1 year ago, and there were only 9 that were pending. We had all of our clients going, what's going on? Why isn't Blackhawk moving? The inventory was much higher than, of course, the demand. Oh my God, today's statistic, as of this morning, there were 4 active. Crazy.
Oh my God.
Down from 49 active to 4. And there's 11 pending. But the reason why there's not as many pending is because we just haven't had the inventory, right? So there's just this pressure on the values, even in the higher end.
So if you live in Blackhawk, now is the time to sell.
Yeah. It's like even an Alamo as well, which I'm going to give you guys one last statistic. Sorry about that. I said that the last time. So one thing that people always ask us as well. So our average price range in our East Bay, hovering around, if you look at the average, we're not hovering around 1.2 or so, 1.3. And of course, parts of Danville much higher, parts of Sereno much higher, and then Blackhawk higher than that. The high end in this area has always been 2 million plus, right? So 2 million plus is a market that you tended to see not as active over the years. But in the last year, so in 2019, 2 million plus, the numbers were, let me look at my note here. So there were 210 houses that closed over 2 million in our entire East Bay in 2019. 2020, any guesses on how many, you guys?
300.
Oh, look, way more than that.
During COVID.
During COVID. Oh my God. Craziness. 210 houses over 2 million. There was 515 closed in 2020.
Wow.
515. And that was Alamo and Blackhawk, basically, a lot of those two areas. And then, of course, you've got Westside Danville, a lot of those. Some
we were shut down for 2 months.
So I know we were shut down for 2 months, and these are the numbers. So it's just such an interesting time, So I'm going to let you guys, I know all of you are going to share some specific area data. So why don't you guys jump in?
Yeah, so I'll start with the Sereno and Danville data, just to kind of give a little deeper breakdown. So currently, as of this morning, there in Danville, there's 53 homes active on the market, while there's 64 pending. In the last 90 days closed, there's been 326. If you compare that to last year, the same time frame, there was only 200 closed in that same time frame. So there's a huge jump. And in San Ramon right now, active, there's 38 houses. Pending, there's 73. So that's a gigantic gap. And in the last 90 days, there's been 284 closings compared to last year, same time frame, only 181. So it's just a huge jump between last year.
And I know that San Ramon over the years, there's always been, quite a bit of inventory. San Ramon's a pretty big area. There's always like hovering close to 200 active listings at one time. Now we've got how many? 34?
38, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's just so interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I looked at Martinez and Pleasant Hill together. So right now there are active, there's 44 homes, and then pending right now, there's 75. And, we are seeing multiple offers. I would say like average between 4 to 6 offers on a home.
Yeah.
And then I looked back last year for half the year. So from October to now, as far as homes closed are 271. And then from July of last year to September, 228. So definitely just more activity these past, 3 to 4 months.
Big jump. Mm-hmm. Gosh. It's such an interesting dynamic. Clients keep asking us, all of us, like, why are we seeing so much demand, and what are we likely to see moving forward? I know for all of us, the biggest change that we've seen and why the market's been so hot is there's two basic reasons. But last year, in the beginning of 2020, interest rates were coming down off of 5%. That's a lot. That's what we jumped from like where we are now, which is historically low. We're less than 3% now, to all the way to 5% ban. And so just the ability to purchase, that's like $1,000 payment for most consumers, a different payment. So, and then the other reason is why I know all of us, we've talked about this too, is the amount of people who are now executives, which is why the high end is changing. Executives in the South Bay that work for tech companies in San Francisco and different places, they can come to our area, live in the suburbs, and they can work over there, and they don't have to commute every day,
Well, we know we have some big tech managers and such that said that they don't have to go back to work till 2023. So why not buy somewhere and buy a better home in a better neighborhood and
better schools.
Schools.
Like we have one family that's in the process of buying right now, and they're moving over from Fremont, which is very common. People sell a small condo in Fremont and come to our area and buy a beautiful home, and the prices are about the same, right? It's crazy. Totally. And we've got such a better school system, than what they have over there in most cases. I know that there's a few districts over there that are very good, but those are the super high end areas. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with clients still moving from Fremont or Silicon Valley, wherever, say they want to get in Dublin, same thing. Right now, Dublin, you're seeing only 24 active homes in the whole city of Dublin, 24, 56 pending. I know Diana just had a really hot listing that went crazy. So that, it says a lot of the demand in the buyers are still there. Pleasanton, 36 active, 55 pending. And just to put everything into context, the last 3 months of this year, since October, October 2020 to now, 2021, 212 sales. Last year in that same time frame, there's only 169 for Dublin. In Pleasanton, the same thing. Past 3 months, there's been 215 sales. Same time frame a year ago, only 176. So it's insane with the demand.
Yeah, it's so interesting. The biggest question is people keep asking us is this going to change? Markets always have their ebbs and flows and cycles. We've been through a million of those in all these years in the business. But it feels like the demand for the East Bay, the suburban areas, will likely to keep continuing to be strong. All the demand here. Yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, could we be the next, San Jose, right? I mean, maybe,
We've been more affordable than them for years. So
right.
Felt like we're the cheapest, really. East Bay is like the lowest end for the Bay Area as far as cost for good areas. So we have some growth that we can still have,
Right.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
So, another two other cities that I want to talk about too is Concord and Walnut Creek.
Yeah.
So right now, active, 147 active and 186 pending. And Concord's a big city. So, yeah. I mean, the fact there's only 147 active and then 186 pending, that's significant. And in 2019, of course, there were significantly more active at one time than pending. Yeah. We have completely turned. One other thing that I did want to talk about is in Concord, now pending over 1 million, which is, Concord, they tend to be less than 1 million, mm-hmm. some a little bit higher, but at 1 million are 8. Walnut Creek pending over 1 million, 30. So to put that in context, in 2019, we only had 1 pending over 1 million at this time. In Walnut Creek, there were 19. So, I mean, every market has seen a higher end stronger over the last 6 months, for sure.
Yeah, it's just such an interesting dynamic. And of course, if any of you guys have questions on any of the other cities around the East Bay or the Bay Area, let us know. We're happy to give you some direct stats, but we wanted to share. So now we want to share with you guys some interesting information. So Proposition 19, if all of you remember, was on the last ballot and it did pass. So we were just chatting about this morning, all of us. There's 2 parts to Proposition 19. We're going to share one part, and then we're going to share part 2 on another Comps and Coffee. So part 1 is how people that are over 55 can talk about taking their tax base, which we're going to give you guys the ins and outs of that. They can take their tax base to anywhere across the state now, which is awesome. The other part of Proposition 19 has to do with inheritance of properties and how that will impact taxes moving forward. So that's a different conversation. We'll be talking about that later. But of course, if you guys have questions about that, just let us know. And of course, we can put you in the hands of a good CPA who can really get down and answer your specific questions. So as far as Proposition 19, of course, like we talked about, it passed on the ballot. I want to share how people quickly could have taken their tax base with them prior to now. And then you guys will be talking about the details of Prop 19. So before Prop 19 passed, it'll go into effect this year. We used to have what's called Proposition 60 and Proposition 90, which 60 allowed the consumers to take their tax base with them inside of our county. That means they could have sold a house for $1 million and then turn around and go buy a smaller home, or sell a house for 1.5 million that they had owned for years, buy a house for $1 million, take their tax base with them, and still retain that lower base of tax, right? They could still afford to make that downsize. And then Proposition 90 allowed our Contra Costa consumers, homeowners, to sell their big houses that they didn't want anymore and downsize to be close to their kids or whatever, but they could only do it there was only 9 counties that participated. So now we'll go ahead and share the ins and outs of Prop 90. So you guys can go ahead and jump in.
So one of the questions is who is eligible? So who's eligible are homeowners 55 and older. And also, interesting enough, they added some other, people that can take advantage of this. So victims of a wildfire or natural disaster. And then also if you are severely disabled. So they opened it up to, different people.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And one thing that we've been working on, that disability, the law is so new and it just is going into effect. So we're not certain about how disabled does a person need to be in order to qualify. So we'll get answers on that, from everybody. So sure.
And a bit, one awesome part of it too is it used to be specific to certain counties. So like, for example, someone in Contra Costa could potentially move to Alameda, and there were other counties that agreed to this. But now it's actually statewide. So now anywhere in the state of California, you can take Prop 19. It's very cool.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, it's just this one thing alone, Prop 19, this part of Prop 19, this is advice for home sellers who are thinking about selling. You might want to think about timing, because Proposition 19 goes into effect this year. You might want to talk about making your move a little sooner, because this is going to open up some inventory. This is going to allow those. I have like 8 clients right now that are on the list of saying, the minute I can take my tax base where I want to go, I'm on it. So you're just going to see more houses coming for sale. There'll be more inventory, which is good for the buyers. There'll be a lot more to choose from, potentially, some opened up inventory,
Yeah. It's
and Lisa, how many times can a buyer transfer their tax base?
They can take it actually now 3 times. So back before, it used to be over 55 only once, right? You're done. Okay. And I know, and I know our partner, Kim, who's not on our Zoom today, she has a client this week, which we were able to get an answer to one of their questions. Is 10 years ago, they did their transfer. They did a Prop 90 transfer 10 years ago, and they took their tax base with them after they were 55. So now they can actually do it twice more again. So now you're not limited to stay where you are now. You can go do it again and move again if you want to go be with your kids again and take it, still continue to take it with you. So that's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what's the date? And
now,
so
go ahead, Diana.
And I was just going to say, what's that date that they can start taking advantage of? When does that come into effect?
TJ can give it a with his update. Yeah. TJ, you can.
So now, just to use round numbers, if your house is $1 million, now you could buy something at 1.3, and you'd only have to pay the tax between the 1 million and the 1.3. And what was it before Prop 19, Lisa? It was only 5%.
Yeah, exactly. So back before this is now passed, we had, over the years, I've had so many clients, and all of us have, where they were unable to do their transfer because they were selling a home, just for round figures. If they sold a home in our East Bay for $1 million, and where they were going to move, because houses are expensive in California, in many areas of California, right? Expensive. The house that they wanted to buy, they couldn't find one for less than 1.1. They were unable to make that. They were unable to do it, so they couldn't. So they either moved and just paid the higher taxes, or they chose not to move. Now, like you said, back then they would only give you 5% over your sale. So if you sold it $1 million, you could wait till up to a year to buy this house while you looked. You could actually spend $1 million and then 5% over. So you could do $1.05 million. But if you were looking at a 1.1, there was no choice. But now, like you said, the person can actually buy a higher, and they just pay that little bit of more tax on that extra
in between the gap.
Extra over. Yeah. So there's no limitations to this. They can buy whatever price range they need to, and still take it. That's awesome. Cool. And I think you guys, I think we wanted to share a little bit more. But yeah, no, I think we got all of the Prop 90. I mean, this is actually pretty simple, right? Proposition 90 is a pretty simple. The more complicated one is the whole inheritance. How do you do the transfer tax? How to, and one thing that we would all share with all of our clients is talk to CPAs this year. Go do some financial planning, because if you live in California, we all know our taxes are going to be changing, and a lot of the things that we rely on today are not going to be available moving forward from what we've been told. So, like, for instance, one thing that I think is on the chopping block, and we'll see more in the next few months as this unfolds, is the step up in basis. So that means if you inherit a property and your parents pass away, you would then not have to pay a capital gain tax. And again, we're not CPAs. Talk to your CPA. But that is on the chopping block. So everyone thinking about your family, strategies and all your tax planning is, see a CPA, see an attorney, just to make sure that you guys all know what you're facing and stuff, and what's the best plan strategy. Yeah.
So Lisa, if we have clients, that are looking to, like you said, take advantage of the tax benefit and the tax transfer, and they're waiting, when is their timeline now? When should they be eyeing a possible move to another county in California?
That's a good question. So the rules say April 1st, right? So, and right now we're middle of January. So I think anyone, personally, I would say, all of us are recommending our clients really look at their strategy today, like look at it now. As long as you don't close before April 1st, that's what we've been told. The law is still very new, but we could still do that. We could do a long escrow. We could help them I know I have a client right now who we're getting an offer on their house, and we're just going to bump the closing till April 2nd.
Wow.
And then we take the tax space with them, and we're making that plan. So, you know,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So good, guys. Well, and you know, we appreciate all of you joining us on our weekly East Bay Comps and Coffee. Yay. I know we're here to answer questions. We know real estate is such a, you know, our industry, we've all been so incredibly grateful and so lucky that our industry is open. You know, we're so glad to help people. And, you know, I think real estate in general will help the country move forward economically. You know, it's the one area where there's some growth, and I think that'll help us kind of pull economically forward. And, you know, we got to get all the rest of our businesses open hopefully soon. You know, we wish all of you guys the best. Stay healthy, stay well, you know, take care.
Take care.
All right. See you guys, everyone.
And make sure you message us if you have any questions. We will cover on our next Comps and Coffee. See you soon.
Yeah.
See you guys.